Alright, so good day everyone. So our topic for today is all about the RPMS tool for the teachers 1 to 3 proficient teachers in the time of COVID-19, school year 2021-2022. The objective of this session are the following. Number 1, understand and appreciate the duties and responsibilities of a proficient teacher. 2, review the different key result areas and objectives of the teacher 1 to 3. Learn and comprehend the different means of verification per objectives and identify the different indicators and plan on how to achieve them. So the flowchart of our discussion would be the duties and responsibilities of the teacher. The Ipcrf tool for teacher 1 to 3. The rating sheet for the COT, the teacher's reflection form, and the self-assessment tool. Before I proceed, let me give you this quotation. The challenge for educators in every discipline is for them to transition from being dispensers of facts to being architects of learning activities. Today's new generation, we have different kinds of learners, so we need to become the architects of our learning activities so that every learners will be engaged to different kinds of learning modality, learning activities. Now we have these two classification for the Ipcrf in this year. So we have the Ipcrf for regular teachers and the Ipcrf for teacher broadcaster. But our main focus is more on the Ipcrf for regular teacher. Now let's talk about the duties and responsibilities of a proficient teacher. Do you have any idea about the different duties and responsibilities of a proficient teacher? The first duty of a teacher must apply mastery of content knowledge and its application across the learning area. The second, they should facilitate using appropriate and innovative teaching strategies and classroom management practices. So as a teacher, you have the knowledge about your content, but at the same time, think for any appropriate and innovative teaching strategy that could fit to the kind of learner that you have inside your classroom. Next, teachers are also responsible in managing the learning environment conducive to learning and should address a learning diversity. A teacher should implement and supervise curricular and co-curricular programs to support learning and monitors and evaluates learners' progress and undertakes activities to improve learner performance. As a teacher, we should maintain updated records of learners' progress and counsels and guides learners. Work with the relevant stakeholders, both internal and external, to promote learning and the school performance. Also, they should undertake activities towards personal and professional growth by attending, let's say, seminars or continuous education. And finally, does related works with the supervision of their superiors if needed. Now let's proceed to the main topic, which is the RPMS tool for teacher 1 to 3 in time of COVID-19 for the school year 2021-2022. There are 18 indicators from the Philippine Profession Standards for Teachers, or the PPST. So before we have only 12, but now we have 18 plus 1 for the plus factor, which is equivalent to 19 indicators, chosen as RPMS objectives for this school year. These priority indicators complete the integration of PPST through the RPMS. For our proficient teachers, there are 9 classroom observable objectives. The performance indicators of these objectives are identified for quality. These 9 classroom observable indicators are Objective 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And number 10 is included for the set A and set B option. So objectives 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 requires means of verification or MOVs for the classroom observation, while objectives 7, 8, 9, and 10 have set A and set B options that require MOV from either a classroom observation, provision of supplemental materials, accomplishment of teacher's reflection form, TRF, depending on the context of the teacher. So, yung 7, 8, 9, and 10, pwede daw siyang classroom observation or maybe a supplemental materials and teacher reflection form. That will be discussed later. We have the different key results area for this school year, which is under the Division Memorandum Number 44, Series of 2022. We have KRA 1 to 5 with 7 domains. For KRA 1, we have the Content Knowledge and Pedagogy. KRA 2, Learning Environment. KRA 3, Diversity of Learners, Curriculum and Planning, and Assessment and Reporting. For KRA 4, Community Linkages and Professional Engagement and Personal Growth and Professional Development. And for 5, we have plus factors. For number 1, objective, applied knowledge of content within and across curriculum teaching areas. The MOVs are the following. There should be a class observation tool or the class observation. And you can choose from the following. You can choose asynchronous teaching, observation with limited face-to-face teaching, online teaching, or two-way radio instruction. If number 1 is not possible, you can give an observation by a recorded video to your observer or audio lesson based on the SLM or school learning material and aligned in the MELC. If number 1 and 2 options are not available, the observation for a demonstration could be done using the Learning Action Cell or LAC. To get a performance of outstanding of 5, the teacher should demonstrate 7 in objective 1, as shown from the COT rating sheet. Take note that for modular approach, demonstration teaching via LAC must reflect the teaching learning process into said modality. But in terms of demonstration teaching via LAC, it is not sufficient to have the COT rating sheet, but rather there should be an annotation of documents such as the module, the screenshot of instant messaging, the notes showing instruction, and narrative. Also, for the objective 1, 2 MOVs are required, meaning to say 2 observation form. In computing the rating scale or the rating for the quality, we have the following. Get the corresponding RPMS 5-point scale rating of each COT rating. Calculate the average of the RPMS ratings and find the transmuted RPMS rating. For instance, we have COT 1 and you get 6 for objective 1 only. And for COT 2, you have 5 for objective 1. Using the RPMS 5-point scale, yung 6 magiging 4 and yung 5 is equivalent to 3. Then add 4 plus 3, that's 7. Divide by 2, that's 3.5. Then use the transmutation table for RPMS rating. 3.5 belongs to very satisfactory, which has a quantifiable data equivalent to 4. So therefore, the RPMS rating for quality under objective number 1 is 4, which is very satisfactory. For objective 2, use research-based knowledge and principle of teaching and learning to enhance professional practice. For the MOV of this particular objective, 1 lesson plan with annotation identifying the research-based knowledge or principles of teaching and learning used as basis for planning and designing the lesson. Ibig sabihin, Isang lesson plan lang kailangan dito. Basta make sure na yung lesson plan na yon ay mayroon siyang research-based knowledge or principles of teaching and learning. And at the same time, lahat ng to get the grade or score of 5 for outstanding, kailangan daw lahat ng components of instruction ay research-based in one lesson plan. So ngayon, ano ba yung components of instruction? The components of instruction we're talking about here are the learning objectives, the instructional activities, and assessment. Kailangan research-based daw yon. Pag sabing research-based knowledge, these are information, knowledge, or data acquired through systematic investigation and logical study. And for principles of teaching and learning, teachers' views, understanding, and conceptualization of teaching and learning that can be seen using a newspaper or maybe a magazine for teachers. For objective number 3, displayed proficient use of mother tongue, Filipino, and English to facilitate teaching and learning. Similar with objective number 1, it has similar objectives. It has similar MOVs. But the objective should follow what is in the MOV. So, to get an outstanding of 5, the teacher should have the level 7. And similar to number 3 as well, pareho lang yung MOVs niya. Pero dapat, yung MOV na yon, meron din siyang objective 4. Use effective verbal and non-verbal classroom communication strategies to support learners' understanding, participation, engagement, and achievement. Kung wala doon sa objective 3, si objective 4, you can use another lesson plan. Pero, dapat kasi yung lesson plan na yon ay ginamit mo within of the observation. Kung wala siya, automatic you will get a score of 3 from the observation. So, here, to get an outstanding 5, you should demonstrate level 7 in objective number 4 using the COT rating sheet. And for 5, similar with 3, 4, establishes a safe and secure learning environment to enhance learning through the consistent implementation of policies and guidelines and procedure. So, same lang siya ng MOV ng 3 and 4. Katulad din sila ng number 6. Maintain learning environment that promote fairness, respect, and care to encourage. To make it short, yung 3, 4, 5, and 6 objectives, kailangan nakapaloob sila sa lesson plan at makikita sila ni observer during the observation so that you can get a score of 7 and to have an equivalent of outstanding or 5 score. Note that objective 3, 4, 5, and 6 have similar MOVs. So, pare-pareho lang sila ng MOV. Depende na lang ngayon sa principal mo kung separate yung mga MOVs na ipapagawa o isang MOV na lang for the objectives 3, 4, 5, and 6. For KRA2, objective number 7, maintain learning environment that nurture and inspire learners to participate, cooperate, and collaborate in continued learning. For this particular example, of course, we have the two set of MOVs. For set A, pwede kang gumamit ng mga supplementary materials to show na yung mga supplementary materials na yun ay nagpapakita na nag-nurture and inspire sila ng learners to participate and cooperate collaboratively in continued learning. It can be through the form of activity sheet, one lesson form, or from a self-learning module, or lesson plan like the DLP, DLL, weekly home learning plan, lesson exemplars and the likes, a video lesson, an audio lesson, other learning materials in print digital format. Please specify na lang kung meron siyang annotation with client learner feedback on how the material encourage the learners to participate, cooperate, and collaborate. So, kailangan meron kang feedback dito sa mga ito. If video lesson yan, there should be a client feedback, of course. Kung ito ba ay nakatulong sa kanila to participate, cooperate, and collaborate in continued learning. Okay, so for set A MOVs, to get a score of 5, teachers should provide effective and varying learning opportunities that are well aligned with the learning goals and feature all elements of collaborative learning as shown in the submitted learning materials. For set B naman, it can be through classroom observation. So, kung makikita naman ni observer yung objective 7 sa observation, so pwede na iyon. Okay? The observation is similar to objective number 1. So, pwede ka mamili kung ano yung available sa school nyo na observation modality. Okay? Sige, wag na ito. Okay, for set A, para makakuha ka ng score, kailangan, ang mag-i-score kasi dito si observer. So, halimbawa, nag-submit ka ng MOV1 activity sheet. So, probably, ang bibigay sa'yo, halimbawa, is 3 out of 5. And sa MOV2, nag-submit ka ng 1 lesson from the SLM. That's 4. So, i-add mo lang, then divide by 2, 3.5. Using the transmutation table, you will get very satisfactory 4 as your RPMS rating for quality. Dito, kung napapansin nyo, wala siyang score na 6, 7 because direkta siyang i-scorean ni observer. Pero kapag set B naman ang pinili, at nasa set B, makikita naman yung objective na nandoon sa discussion mo, present siya, so pwede ka na niyang bigyan ng grade na 6 and 5 example. So again, tignan mo ulit sa RPMS 5-point scale rating kung ano yung equivalent ng 6 at 5. At iyon ay 4 and 3. Add and divide the 2, and then go to transmutation table, and that will be your score for your RPMS rating for quality. Objective 8. Apply the range of successfully strategies that maintain learning environment that motivate learners to work productively by assuming responsibility for their own learning, or sumatotal, ito yung metacognition na sinasabi. Meron ba siyang full responsibility dun sa kanyang own learning? So, pwede kang gumamit ng set A, MOVs, na katulad lamang ng nasa objective 7. Pwede bang gamitin yung ginamit kong MOV sa objective 7 kay 8? Possible naman for as long as nasasakop din niya yung objective 8. Okay? Kung nandoon din siya. Now, same lang naman yan. So, sa set B naman, katulad din siya ng 7. Kung observable naman siya during the observation, is pwede rin naman magkaroon ka na lang ng grade dito sa objective 8. So, ayun. Pwedeng ma-observe ka through modular, to LAC session, to video-based instruction, or online or limited face-to-face instruction. If the supplementary materials are product of a group work, collaborative effort of 2 or more teachers, rating should specify and provide annotation of one's contribution to the material. So, kung dalawa kayo or higit pa na teacher na gumawa ng materials that motivates learners, pwede mong ilagay kung ano yung naging contribution mo in developing the material as part of your objective 8. Again, for set A, bibigyan ka ng score ni rater base dun sa binigay mong MOV for the 2 MOVs. But, kung observable naman siya through demonstration at nakita naman siya ni observer, then that's good. Hindi mo na kailangan mag-provide pa ng mga materials doon. And you can give and the rater can give you a score na directly doon sa iyong COT rating. Objective 9 ay katulad din ng 7 and 8 na mayroong set A and set B. But in this portion, sa set A, pwedeng nakita na ni observer yung yung objective 9 doon sa lesson mo pa lang. So, napaka-rich ng lesson mo kasi maybe nagko-compose siya ng objective 1 to objective 9. Ibig sabihin, maganda yung ginawa mong lesson at naaangkop niya lahat, no? Yung objective 1 to objective 9. So, that's good. And for set B naman, kung hindi naman siya observable, hindi supplemental material ang gagamitin mo, bagkus ay gagamit ka ng teacher reflection form. At mayroong form naman dyan. By the way, yung objective na yun, nakalimutan kong basahin, design, adopted, and implemented teaching strategies that are responsive to the learners with disability, giftedness, and talent. Ibig sabihin, yung lesson mo, pwede siya for people or learners with disabilities, giftedness, and talents. So, pwedeng bigyan ka ng certification ng school head na yung ginawa mo ay pwede sa disability, giftedness, and talents. Okay? So, ayan. Doon tayo sa definition of terms. Pag sinabing learners with disability, giftedness, and talents, operationalize yung mga yan. Persons who are gifted or talented and those who are physically, mental, social, or sensory impairment. These persons may be gifted or talented as fast learner, mentally retarded, visually impaired, hearing impaired, with behavior problems, orthopedically handicapped, with special health problems, learning disabled, speech impaired, multiple handicap, yan. And for disability, shall mean on physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more psychological, physiological, or anatomical function of an individual or activity such such individuals, no? So, ayan. So, okay na tayo dyan. Anyway, mababasa naman ito doon sa mismong copy, no? Ng DepEd Order number 4 series of 2022. Okay, again, ganun din naman yung pag-score sa set A and set B. Sa set B, depende yan sa TRF, no? Meron namang rubrics na gagamitin to give you score for the TRF or the Teacher's Reflection Form. For the Objective 10, katulad din siya ng 7, 8, and 9, adopted and used culturally appropriate teaching strategies to address the needs of the learners from indigenous people. Again, for set A, kung observable naman siya, then very good. Pwede ka naman bigyan ng score na agad ni observer. Okay? Pero kung hindi naman, is pwede kang gumawa ng teacher's reflection form that portrays adopting and using culturally appropriate teaching strategies to address the needs of the learners from indigenous group. And a certification from the school head that the latest classes have had no identified learner. To get the outstanding of 5, a teacher must demonstrated level 5 as shown in the TRFs. Ayan. Okay, so ganun pa rin siya. Pareho lang sila ng pagsasolve. Now, proceed tayo sa Objective 11. Adopted and implemented learning programs that ensure relevance and responsive to the needs of all learners. Very easy lang naman to because I know you are doing this in school. You have different programs naman that is being implemented in your school like the reading numeracy programs and everything, di ba? Yung mga adapted school program and so on. So, you do those things and you just need the proper documentation so that you can have the MOVs for this particular objective. So, proof of evaluation, the implementation, the adopted and contextualized learning program. As you can see, diba, every time na meron tayong program, you have the measurement and evaluation. So, you should have a copy of this that you are evaluating your program at the end, no, of the implementation of that program. So, progress report on the implementation of the adopted contextualized learning program, accomplishment or completion technical support, report on the implementation of an adopted contextualized learning program, action plan or activity proposal, activity matrix that shows an adopted or contextualized learning program. So, sinasabi dito na yung MOV1, kailangan siya. Tapos, maghanap ka ng 2, 3, 4. Sa 2, 3, 4, maghanap ka ng isa that supports MOV1. So, dalawang MOVs ang kailangan dito. Take note that the learning programs are organized and sequence set. Ayun nga, sabi ko nga kanina, it's either the numeracy program, strategic intervention, remediation program, or anything na ginagawa sa school. Basta yung may connection siya doon sa adopted and implemented learning program that ensure relevance and responsiveness to the needs of all learners. Okay, and make sure na meron siyang measurement and evaluation procedure. Alright? So, another, pwede ka rin gumamit ng individual learning monitoring plan since ang pandemic at ano yung ginawa mo doon in terms of those learners na hindi nagsasabit ng mga papers or mahina or mababa yung mga scores. So, anong ginagawa mong remediation? Alright, Objective 12, utilize assessment data to inform the modification of learning, teaching and learning practices and programs. So, in this portion, you need to identify the least and most mastered skills in your learning area. And then, you need to make an accomplishment report for remedial or enhancement activities like the remedial session, summer reading camp, PIL-ERE-based reading program. For the intervention material used for remediation, reinforcement, or enhancement, lesson plan activity log for remediation enhancement utilizing of assessment data to modify teaching and learning practices or programs. So in this portion of to get an outstanding of 5, you should have implement teaching and learning strategies or program using materials based on the learner's assessment data as evidenced by a list of identified list or most mastered skill with supporting MOVs number 1. So number 1 is very important, and then you need to think from number 2 and 3 what are the MOVs that support number 1. Okay, so number 13, maintain learning environment that are responsive to community context. So you have the MOVs, accomplishment report of the program project, activity that maintains a learning environment, program project or activity in maintaining the learning environment, minutes of a consultative meeting, community stakeholders meeting about a program project activity and maintain a learning environment, communication letter for the program project activity that maintains the learning environment. Like yung mga, ano ba yung mga communication letters na yan? Kung meron kang pinapa-add sa school or sa classroom mo, pinabili or pinaayos from the PTA, or the consent form, mga ganon, or assent form, yan, mga ginamit mong communication letter involving the stakeholders. So, yung MOV1 ay kailangan supported siya by different MOVs, 2, 3, or 4. Okay? So, ayun po. So, wag na natin basahin ito because these are just a definition of terms. Okay? Next na tayo. Objective 14. Review regularly personal teaching practice using existing laws and regulation that apply to the teaching profession and the responsibilities specified in the Code of Ethics for Professional Teachers. So, dito dapat nina-apply mo pa rin yung Code of Ethics as for professional teachers. So, we have annotated video or audio recording of one's teaching that shows impact of regularly reviewing one's teaching practices, annotated teaching material that shows impact of regular reviewing one's teaching practice, like lesson plan, activity sheet, assessment materials, or others. Personal reflection notes as outputs from participation in the review of personal teaching practices in 4 quarters. So, 4 na quarters, meron kang personal reflection about your participation in personal teaching practices. And proof of attendance with date in lack or coaching and mentoring sessions for review of personal teaching practices. So, to get a 5, You must exhibit the improved practice through one's teaching as impact of the regularly reviewing one's teaching practices using the laws and regulations that apply to the profession and the responsibilities in the Code of Ethics for Professional Teachers as evidence in MOV number 1. Again, MOV number 1 is very important. Then you can choose any from 2, 3, and 4 MOVs to support number 1. Okay. Note that the video or audio recording and teaching materials should be made by the lady and annotated based on how they're used. And the classroom shows impact of regular reviewing one's teaching practice. So, hindi pwedeng nag-download ka lang, ha? So, ikaw yung gumawa. For senior high school, teachers who follow a semestral structure, MOV3 will be 2 reflection. So, kung yung senior high school yan, since semestral yan, every semester, 2 reflection. Kasi, kung quarterly, 4 quarters kasi yung reflection eh. Objective 15, complied with and implemented school policies and procedures. Example, certificate as committee member, narrative report. Ayan. Minutes of parent-teacher conference. Stakeholders meeting about the implementation of school policy procedure with proof of attendance. Communication letter about the implemented school policy procedure sent to parents or guardian. So to get an outstanding of 5, teachers should sustain engagement with the learner, parents, guardian, and other stakeholders regarding school policies and procedure through school community partnership as evidence in MOV number 1. 16. Applied a personal philosophy of teaching that is learner-centered. So you should have one lesson plan with annotation explaining the application of learner-centered teaching philosophy like constructivism, existentialism, used as basis for planning and designing a lesson. So you can choose the lesson plan that you have used during the observation if it is congruent, no, to the objective number 16. And to get the quality or score of outstanding 5, I'm sorry, this should be quality only. There's no efficiency. I just forgot to edit this one. To get a standing of 5, teachers must apply learner-centered teaching philosophy in the lesson plan in all the components of instruction in lesson planning. And remember that components should have the learning objectives, the instructional activities, and the assessment. For number 17, adopted practices that uphold the dignity of teaching as a professional by exhibiting qualities such as caring attitude, respect, and integrity. So, documented feedback from superiors, colleagues, learners, parents, guardian, or other stakeholders directly reflecting the latest good practices that uphold the dignity of teaching as a profession. Annotated evidence of practice indirectly linking to the upholding of the dignity of teachers as a profession by exhibiting qualities such as caring attitude, respect, and integrity. Screenshot of text message, chats, email, or any form of communication with parents, guardian, or learner, name, or any identifiers must be removed. Remarks from mentors, master teacher, school head about one's qualities, example entries in performance monitoring and coaching form, or in the mid-year review form. Recognition from the school community about one's quality, etc., and others specify. To get a 5, teachers should exhibit dignity of teaching as a profession by exhibiting qualities such as caring attitude, respect, and integrity with affirmation from different school stakeholders as evidenced by the at least 2 MOVs number 1. Okay, so there should be 2 MOVs, no, number 1. For Objective 18, set professional development goal based on Philippine Professional Standard for Teacher. So you should have the following. Updated IBCRF DP from phase 2. Remember that development plan cannot be made possible if you don't have the ESAT first. So you should have the certification from the ICT coordinator or school head, focal person in charge for ESAT, Ipcrf DP, and the major review form. So 2 MOVs are needed for this to get a grade of 5. And finally, for Objective 9, perform various. This is KRA 5, I'm sorry. Perform various related works, activities that contribute to the teaching and learning. So, approve of committee involvement, advisorship of co-curricular activities, book or journal authorship, contributorship, coordinatorship or chairpersonship, coaching and mentoring learners in competitions, serving as reliever of classes in the absence of teachers, mentoring pre-service teachers, participation in demonstration teaching, participation in technical working group. Others specify with annotation. And to get the 5, for teachers should perform at least one related work or activity that contribute to the teaching learning process beyond the school community learning center as evidenced by submitted MOV. So, isa lang dito sa objective number 19. Ang kailangan to get a score of 5. During the observation or COT, the observer will use 9 objectives. And to give you a grade, you have levels. So we have 7, 6, 5, 4, and 3. 3 means organizing, 4 means developing, 5 means applying, 6 is consolidating, and 7 is integrating. If the what they call this, the objective for 1 to 6 or 1 to 5, I mean, are not obvious or were not being seen, no, observed on the observation, automatic you will get a grade of 3. But for objectives 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, if it is not observable, then the rater will just give you a chance to choose whether to give supplemental material or TRF, no? Depending on the context needed for the objective. Okay. Now, this is a sample of rating sheet, no? For 1 to 5, that should be observable. And for 6 to 9, that can be graded using other forms like supplemental materials or TRF if not observable. On the other hand, we have other forms needed like the inter-observer agreement form, and that can be used if the observers are more than 2. SAT for Ipcrf 2021-22 should be employed before the observation. Teacher's reflection form and teacher's reflection form rubrics to give you a grade. Now the question is, what are the alternative classroom observation for school year 2021-2022? There are 3 modes actually. We have the online observation, observation through video lesson, and observation of the demonstration teaching via LAC session. What will determine the mode of observation? So, the modality adopted by the teacher will determine the mode of observation. I will adopt 2 to 3 learning modalities, which is blended learning. For this school year, what do I consider for observation? If online synchronous is one of your modality, take one option. Online observation as the sole mode of the observation. If online asynchronous is one of your modalities and online synchronous is not possible, take option 2. That is observation of the video lesson. If online learning, synchronous or asynchronous, neither of the modalities, take option 3. Observation of the demonstration teaching via LAC session. Can I shift between modes of observation? No. Usually one mode of observation for the entire school year. How many observations are required? The answer is 2 observation only. I only have one online class with 5 learners in a week. Does online observation apply to me? The answer is yes. Online observation applies to teachers adopting online synchronous learning regardless of the number of classes and learners. Does online observation apply to blended learning? The answer is yes, as long as online synchronous learning is one of your modalities in blended learning. What if my online class was cut off to intermittent internet connection during my scheduled observation? Can I reschedule the observation? Yes, you can reschedule the observation with your observers. One other factors outside the performance of the teacher, such as poor internet connection and sudden power outage, should not be graded against the teacher. Can I submit a recording for my online teaching if my internet is perennially unstable? Yes, this can be discussed with your observer. How do I create video lesson? Just record yourself while teaching the lesson using any video recording device. Do not upload or use a video lesson that is not your lesson. Of course. Can I submit a video lesson that is not used in any of my class? No. A video lesson must have been used in your lesson delivery as part of your supplementary materials or as one of your learning materials for online asynchronous learning. Is the video lesson used for TV-based instruction? No. The video lesson is a teacher-made learning material used for online asynchronous learning. How? How do I let my observers access my video lesson intended for observation? Give your observers the access through Google Drive, Flash Drive, or it can be through YouTube. In what learning modality does observation of the demonstration teaching via learning action cell apply? This mode of observation applies to purely modular learning, radio-based instruction, and TV-based instruction. Why is Slack utilized for teaching observation? This may be the best time to use Slack as an opportunity for both raters and observers to discuss collegially strategies in improving the teaching and learning processes, especially in addressing challenges in learning delivery brought by the pandemic. Can I be observed in a physical classroom setting? Yes, provided that your school is one of the selected public or private school that successfully passed the school safety assessment for the conduct of the limited face-to-face classes. Note, school that did not pass the safety or school safety assessment is not allowed to conduct any on-site classroom observations. How many observers can be present during the conduct of the on-site classroom observation? It is recommended that 2 to 3 observers sit for the observation provided that usual protocols on physical distancing are strictly observed. However, if challenges in schedule, availability, or any potential issues on the safety of the teacher, observer, learner is foreseen, one observer shall be allowed. So that's all for today. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope it helps you, no, in doing your IPCRF. Thank you very much.